Well, let's end the podcast. Real simple segment here for the last one. We're talking what was our best pick of the first round? What was our worst pick of the first round? So we'll start with best pick. We'll kind of go around. Sean, we'll start with you. Out of this first round, best pick of the night.
I will have to go with Bradley Chubb, number 5 for the Denver Broncos.
All right.
I think that, obviously the quarterbacks are sexy. I like Josh Rosen, but then we obviously talked about him in the Cardinals situation. I'm not sure about his mentality. I think he's a little bit immature. Browns go out and get their franchise quarterback, not the guy I would have taken. I like the Jets pick of Sam Darnold. If I was going to have to go with a quarterback pick, that'd probably be the one I like the most. But looking at the Broncos at number 5, they maxed out that value. In some eyes, they got the best player in the draft at 5. Some people would say it's Saquon. But looking at what he brings to that defense, you're still going to have Chris Harris in that secondary. You're still going to have a ton of playmakers in that linebacking core. And now you add probably the most scary 1-2 punch blitzing the quarterback probably seen since Robert Mathis and Dwight Freeney. Von Miller, Bradley Chubb, absolutely disgusting. It's going to tear apart Colton Miller, who's just drafted by the Oakland Raiders on the right tackle, and Donald Penn on the left tackle for the Raiders. It's going to tear apart Barksdale from the Chargers. It's going to tear apart Eric Fisher from the Chiefs. This is going to be unstoppable.
Well, how did Case Keenum survive in Minnesota? Had a great defense behind him. Yep. What do you got to do in Denver? Put a great defense behind him.
And honestly, you 2 of the 11 players might be great. And that's all you need for Denver. And I know Chris Harris is great, but I'm just saying, literally, if those 2 were, if you had mediocre players around those 2 players, I still think they'd be pressuring the quarterback.
And guess what they can do now? Because Josh Jackson that has fallen, that cornerback they need, they can get it early in round 2.
Or Isaiah Oliver.
Yep,
exactly. Keep him in Colorado. I love that pick. People were wondering about a quarterback. You got Case Keenum. Give him a year. Honestly, the guy proved that he can be a starting quarterback that wins you games and takes you to the playoffs. Get Bradley Chubb. Guy could be a generational defensive player. I love the Bradley Chubb pick, and pairing with Von Miller is disgusting.
Dave, best pick of the night.
Mine's probably going to have to be Sony Michel going to New England. I flinched.
I'm done.
I thought I was going to get hit.
Is that a joke or
It's a joke.
Okay.
I thought I was going to get hit.
He's joking, Sean. You can sit down.
I seriously thought he was going to punch me.
It's a really
again.
nice suit, by the way.
Thanks.
I like the no tie, by the way.
He did have a tie. He lost it midway
I had a
through.
tie on, and this thing's choking
But
me.
for the podcast, cash no tie. But Dave, who's your best pick after the joke of Sony?
I thought I was getting drafted.
My best pick, we talked Josh Rosen already, but probably outside of that is actually right after is Minkah Fitzpatrick to the Miami Dolphins. I think they fell in a position where there were a lot of options for them, and I was pretty happy that with them going Minkah Fitzpatrick. I think in the secondary, he is a Swiss Army knife of options. He can literally do anything for you. His leadership back there, his versatility, so valuable.
They call this kid Coach Saban's son. You know where Coach Saban's son? You know where Coach Saban used to coach in the NFL? Miami. Love the pick.
Coincidence?
Man, that is...
I think not.
I didn't even that didn't even click in my head until Sean brought it up. Do they really call him Saban's son?
Yeah, that's what they tossed on the banner at least.
Okay, so
the kid studies tape. Not only is he great on the field, super hard on himself. He tries to be the best player that he can possibly be.
He's a guy that I thought the Bears would take.
Yeah, and he's also he's been starting since his freshman year on a star-studded Alabama defense. You got two other players from that defense going in the first round. Deron Payne and then also Rashaan Evans. Absolutely love the pick for Miami. I hate it as a Patriots fan because now I have to go up against Minkah Fitzpatrick, but great pick for Miami.
He definitely helped. He's one of those guys who actually makes the guys around him a better player. That's what I love. You're adding value around yourself, Do
you think they drafted him as a safety? He's not going to play corner because he was the versatility.
Like I said, Swiss Army knife.
So you say whatever he's
let
needed.
him play. That's the answer. It's not quite as bad as last year with what's his face to Cleveland.
To Jabril
Peppers.
Where it's
he's
linebacker, safety.
He's not as out of position as that, but he is versatile.
Well, the thing is that you picked Peppers on his athleticism.
Right.
You're picking Fitzpatrick because he's a football player.
Yes. Thank you.
My best pick is going to be the boring pick. It's number 2, Saquon to the Giants.
I wanted to say...
It's just, for me, I feel like there's 2 things that I've been saying in mock drafts for the past 3 years. I've been saying, 1, and they're both NFC East teams. One, the Redskins should take a defensive tackle. They finally do it in Daron Payne.
Yep.
Thought it'd be Vita Vea, but, you know, Buck spoiled that.
I love that Bucks pick, by the way.
I do, too.
Good move.
And then 2, it was that the Giants need a running back. And for years, it's like, oh, we're going to kick that can down the road. I love how they didn't kick it down the road. Hey, Eli, we're investing in you.
Yep.
Giving you probably one of the best. I'm not going to say
That's the best running back they've ever had.
best running back, but I want to say playmaker, but maybe like
Odell Beckham.
He's
Yeah,
going to
say
be
that's not-
no in this draft. I'm saying
Oh, I
from
thought-
the running back position.
Probably.
Like he's a guy that's going to run the ball, catch the ball,
It's a 3-down
do
back.
whatever they want, do whatever they want.
It's a 4-down back. He's that good.
And I mean, I like that. Like they have like a Wayne Gallman for like he could be the third down guy, third down guy. For them if they need to, but Saquon could do
In
3,
all
4
honesty,
downs.
he's a 5-down back.
Yeah, he'll do it. 5 downs.
5 downs.
He'll
He
even
gets-
play
he gets his
special.
own down.
He'll kick the field goal if you ask him.
Well,
to.
that's the thing. He'll return the kicks. That's the negative down.
Unless we don't get rid of
then
them.
1 through 4.
Unless we don't get rid of kick returns.
Yeah, we'll
We'll see where that
happens.
lands.
What about the interesting one? Sean, we'll start with you. Worst pick of the night.
Okay, well, real quick before we do that, I
Okay.
want to just about the Dolphins.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
They brought in T.J. McDonald to play free safety. They already have Rashad Jones, who's already
you're
he's
saying
been a Pro Bowler
corner?
before. Probably gonna be the nickel corner because I love
Okay.
Xavier Howard on the outside. Absolutely tore apart the Patriots back on Monday night. The worst pick of the draft, though, this one depends. If you were asking me right after it was made, it was probably Sony Michel because I was so pissed off at the Patriots.
Got a little
But
heated.
I think the worst pick, and it's not even close, revisiting this, is at 15, Colton Miller of the Oakland Raiders.
Really?
Looking at what the Raiders needed, you need a defense. And I know Dave made this point, and I agree to him in a certain sense, of the Raiders now with Bradley Chubb being drafted, you're going to need to protect your most valuable asset in Carr. And he was hurt last year. We saw that team was like without him. You need to protect him. But Colton Miller is not a guy that I'd be comfortable plugging in right away and stepping in and being that guy. Luckily, they already have a left tackle in Donald Penn who is going to play the tougher position, going to play that left tackle spot. That's going to
Donald
be
Penn, how long is he going to be playing? Though?
exactly.
That's the thing.
It's going to be more of a prime position. So you're going to put the guy that's been there in Donald Penn, and you could put Colton Miller at the right tackle slot, which is still important, little less harder to play. But still, Colton Miller maxed out at the combine. But we've seen guys that have had great combines and it just hasn't flipped the switch in the NFL. I don't know if he is exactly the guy to really protect Derek Carr. I look at a guy that went 17, 2 picks after the Raiders picked in now I'm blanking on his name, Derwin James. Thank you, the safety from Florida State. I think that kid could have been a game changer and a playmaker on the Oakland Raiders defense that desperately needs a playmaker outside of Khalil Mack.
There are only 2 things I'm going to say to where I combat why I don't think this is the worst pick is because, and why I don't think it's a bad pick at all is because, one, it all comes into every draft. You're deep at some points, you're not deep at other points. And for me, when I was doing the full 7-round mock draft, I got to the 3rd, 4th round and I went, wow, there's a huge dip in offensive tackles. If you need one, take one early. And I think that's what the Raiders did. Whereas you go through linebacker and corner, 2 of the things that they could have went with, or safety, a little bit more deeper. So I expect them to tackle defense in their 2nd, 3rd round and just not have to worry about settling for a weaker tackle.
And I understand where you're coming from. But again, even then, I don't think you got the best tackle. I think Connor Williams is the best tackle out of this draft from Texas. So if you're going with a tackle, go get the best tackle. And I understand, you're high on
and like
Colton
your
Miller.
board is different than my board, which is different than John
You're big on
Gruden's.
Colton Miller. Mel Kiper's big on Colton Miller. Again, he's got the measurables.
I'll be honest, he should have went above Mike McGlinchey, though.
Who,
Really?
Colton Miller?
I think so.
No way.
Colton Miller was my
Get
first one off
outta
the board.
here.
No,
Mike
I think
McGlinchey
you're
is
crazy.
better than Colton
McGlinchey
Miller.
was my second one off the board.
McGlinchey is such a sure thing. No.
We're talking McGlinchey, not Quentin Nelson.
Yes,
Yeah.
Mike
Just to
McGlinchey.
be, I think that he's the
2 guys on Notre Dame.
I think
Those
he's
2
the
guys are
second
both
behind
better.
Colton Miller to me.
Mike McGlinchey was absolutely fantastic. Look at the game. Look at that NC State game against Bradley Chubb. He was assigned to Bradley Chubb, and Brandon Wimbush is a terrible quarterback, and Brandon Wimbush had time to at least process those passes because of McGlinchey's work one-on-one with Bradley Chubb. Mike McGlinchey has been a consistent starter, a great captain, a great leader. That kid is proven. He dominated great competition.
And I'm going to say this because it's not my worst.
Yeah.
I did see that pick at 9 with McGlinchey, and I thought
Love it.
a little bit. I thought it was a little bit of a reach.
I love it.
I would have if I was the Niners. I would have went either pass rush or I would have went with a wide receiver.
They don't need pass rush.
Yeah, they do.
No,
they have the worst fucking.
They have DeForest Buckner. They have Solomon Thomas.
They were 26th in sacks last year.
They don't
Sean.
have any linebackers.
They
have outside
that's why
edges.
they
just spent 2 first-rounders on fucking pass rushers.
Say the name, Dave.
That's why they were mocked the entire way of Tremaine Edmonds.
Bingo.
And it was just like,
Tremaine Edmonds is a guy that might be playing inside linebacker when this dust settles.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't mocked with a guy like a Marcus Davenport or a Harold Landry.
Yeah.
They were mocked with a guy who's going to be versatile and play different positions. Also because of the Reuben Foster situation, they weren't sure what was going to happen.
That's fair.
This is a team that has spent multiple picks getting pass rushers on their team. DeForest Buckner, Solomon Thomas, and even before then, they went out and got another guy from Oregon as well. I'm blanking on his name. I'll look him up on our lads. Armstead. They've invested a ton in their pass rushers. They need a linebacker help. But one thing that I will say,
Tremaine Edmonds linebacker. That's what I'm saying. Like that's what they were mocked.
That could have been their pick, but at the same time, you have Jimmy Garoppolo, who looks like the freaking savior right now.
I know.
And you just invested 5 years, $135 million in the guy.
All your money
Go
is
out
in
and
him.
Protect him.
Yes.
That was my whole thing, though, was when I saw that, I was like, whoa, that's a shock to me because my whole thing was I want to strengthen that defense because I don't want to be 26th in sacks last year. I want to get after the quarterback and help that offense and get them the ball and not have Jimmy Garoppolo having to score numerous amounts of points to win games.
Check the stats from when Jimmy Garoppolo took over.
Yeah.
No, outside the undefeated, just even the defensive stats. It's him being able to control the tempo of the game changes the ability of the defense to play. Like when they're playing behind all game, no shit they're going to be off on pressure because they're just constantly playing from behind. With him out there, their stats are completely different. And I know it's the whole season as a picture, but really this team had 2 seasons last year. So that's why I think that you nail this offensive line pick in McGlinchey. You get somebody who's going to be out there
and that's why I brought it up.
Him.
It's not my worst, but it's one that I saw and I went, whoa, okay. I wasn't thinking about making that pick there.
And one thing, too,
I thought they would trade back and get like a Rashawn Evans.
You need a plan after Joe Staley. Joe Staley has been a massive, a major stud at left tackle for the 49ers for years. But he's getting to that age where he's going to retire soon. You need that plan after him, and I think McGlinchey could totally be that. I don't think that was a reach. I think, again, there wasn't a guy like a Roquan. If Roquan Smith was there, they'd probably go after
the Bears
and take
spoiled
him.
that.
I
love that.
I love the McGlinchey pick. So I think the Colton Miller one was too much of a reach there. 15 though.
Dave, what was your worst?
My worst, and it's not like. Here's the thing. I could see where most of these picks kind of fit in. Mine was Detroit, going Frank right now.
That was mine. Why the hell did he go center?
Thank you.
Why? Darius Geis, pass
He's
rusher.
Got the enthusiasm.
Come on.
Like, yep.
I was going to say Detroit. That's why. Darius Geis is on the board. I could have lived with Darius Geis, even though I would have went like a Harold Landry.
I would have went a different direction, but at least I can stomach it.
Okay, Leighton Vander Esch was off the board. I mean, in my mocks, he was after that. But it's like pass rush, running back, and you go with a center that you probably could have gotten in the second, third round. Probably the second round.
Yep.
That's why for me, I was...
The value, that's one of the picks where I'm like, the value is just not there right now. I don't know if they felt like it was a weird run on centers, and they're like, oh, we got to get
No, they were the first one that took it. Billy Price went after him.
Oh, Price went after him.
Billy Price, though, is a first-round center. He was usually... I mean, in our mocks, we had him like third segment, so after 21.
And James Daniels still out there from Iowa as center.
Yeah, so I mean, like, I don't know what the thought was there. I don't understand the priority. They have 2 other clear priorities on the table, at least, and I can think of 2 more that would take above a center.
And here's the thing, and I asked Brandon this, because Brandon was also, when I went through my final mock where I kind of predicted things, he was like, oh, I'm surprised you don't have the Lions go with a running back. And I'm like, well, the question for them is, it's kind of a what came first, the chicken or the egg type of question. who's to blame, the offensive line or the running backs?
Right.
So they've got Abdullah, they've got Riddick, they've got Zenner. Like, they've got numerous running backs. Are they to fault, or is the offensive line to fault? I get their answer is that our running backs are fine and that our offensive line's to fault, and I'm gonna say it, reach on a center.
Just go with the Dallas Cowboys build of go get yourself offensive line after offensive line after offensive line. Start building that up, and then you can build up everything around that.
When we're yelling at teams for picking a center when this is one of the deepest running back classes, I mean, why? I mean, this is a guy who you think can protect Matt Stafford.
Pick.
I mean, like, yeah, that's one thing. Like, we didn't have much to say about Frank Ragnow because it's center. Like, I mean, it's tough to, as long as Matt Stafford's healthy and fine and not being under pressure. It's a great pick. You also have such a deep running back draft where Darius Geis is still on the board. There's guys like Josh Adams from Notre Dame still on the board. Justin Jackson still on the board from Northwestern. There's still running backs that can be taken in this draft.
Like Dave said earlier, this is overreaction night to the first round. But, I mean, the thing that I look at is if I was the Lions, go pass rush linebacker first, then go with your offensive line. Because, like, how I had it in my 7th round, Harold Landry first. Then I did have Frank Ragnow, not to them, but later because I had Hayden Hurst to them.
Right.
But you can get Ragnow in the second, and then in the third, go with that running back.
Well, I mean, now in the second round, they can go Darius Geis if he's on the board.
Do you think Darius Geis will make it all the way to the 19th pick of the second round?
I have no idea. I didn't think he would get out of the first.
Give me a prediction of what you think.
That's the thing. I figured Frank Ragnow would be there by the 19th pick of the second round.
Me too.
Cleveland has a shot at taking him in the 33, 35th. Indianapolis also has 2 picks. Maybe if they like guys, they can go with them. But again, I didn't think he would slip this far. So the fact that he's slipping this far, I don't know what's going to happen with Darius Geis. And even then, if Detroit loves him, they could trade back up and get him. So, I mean, Detroit's not done. I don't think they're done with running back. I think they can still get a guy that can change their franchise. One guy I want to bring up, though, Jacksonville goes Taven Bryan. Mark Weber, not a fan of it on Twitter. What are your thoughts?
Well, that was one where Taven Bryan, to me, he was because Buzz sat here when we did our live one.
Yeah.
And he made, I can't remember what team it was, but he
Falcons.
made the pick for Taven Bryan. And I was like, whoa, that's kind of interesting because for me, I always thought he was an early second, but not a first round talent.
Yeah, he had him going to the Falcons, which I thought was a need for them as well. They need to nose tackle help. I think the one reason why people don't like the Taven Bryan pick is just because they have Calais Campbell. But also looking at that Jags team, they don't have a ton of needs. So you're really getting that backup plan to Calais Campbell, who is an older guy.
You know who I would have went over Taven Bryan there? Cortland Sutton. You lost Hearns and Robinson and didn't take a wideout?
We talked about that.
For me, the guy I had them mocked with was DJ Moore, but the Panthers take him off the board.
Yep.
And I mean, with Calvin Ridley there, it's like, or not Calvin Ridley, with Cortland Sutton there, it's like, I would have went with that if I was Jacksonville and give Blake Bortles weapons because your defense is fucking fine. It's fine.
Well, they want to keep it fine.
I know, but it's like,
at some point they're going to have to pay all these young kids.
Why use this pick on Taven Bryan now when I can get a wide receiver here and then go defensive tackle later on?
Well, if they
because this is a very heavier defensive.
If they love a Taven Bryan, then I could see why.
Maybe the Florida connection. Yeah. Maybe they just want to keep him in the state. The one pick that I will say I do love, but it's not my best, is my Vikings. Get a corner, replace Terrence Newman. I mean, he's a guy that Mark really liked in Mike Hughes.
And also, it's when Trey Wayne's contract comes up, you're going to need to have money for Anthony Barr and all these guys that contracts are coming up.
Well, we already got Kendrick.
Yeah, you can. Yeah. Well, yeah, but I mean, everyone else in that.
I know. There's more coming.
I mean,
you're writing checks for days.
You could ship off Trey Waynes, and Mike Hughes can become your second corner because Xavier Rhodes is the best. I don't know, best corner, but
he's our number one.
He's pretty good.
No, I was about to say I don't know if he's the best corner in the NFL, but he's top 3.
No, he is. And our safeties are
Sendejo and Harrison Smith. But the one final pick that I loved was,
is this a best?
Calvin Ridley. Yeah.
Okay.
I love Calvin Ridley to Atlanta.
The Alabama connection with him and Julio.
Awesome. Yeah. And Mohamed Sanu getting a little bit older, giving a third weapon to Matty Ice, trying to revamp that offense. Love it.
And the thing that's great about that one is you can let Sanu be on the outside. So Julio and Sanu on the outside. Let Calvin Ridley run with his route running in the slot.
You know what? Another thing I like too was Isaiah Wynn to the Patriots at 23.
Really?
Is this sarcasm?
No, I actually did like that pick
okay.
because we need a tackle, and again, I love that kid's tape. And people worry about him being a tackle in the NFL, but if there's any guy that
a lot of
if
guys have him
enough,
listed as a guard.
if there's
Yeah.
any guy that I think could take chicken shit and turn it into chicken salad, it's Dante Scarnecchi. So and even then, you're not taking chicken shit. You're just taking probably not a nice cut of meat because it's not the biggest and leanest cut of meat, but he's got everything that. He's got the taste of good chicken. I don't know. I'm trying to go here, but he's got all the tools to be a tackle in the NFL. It's just really, will his size be that big of a difference? But I think Dante Scarnecchi can do it.
You know what this means? I'm looking right now at my watch, and my heart rate right now. Apparently, my resting was 78. I'm up to an 84 with it, so I'm not high enough.
Getting a little heated.
I'm not high enough. I wasn't as heated as I was earlier on, but. You know what that means? We got to wrap up the show.
We do.
It is 2:30. 2:30. We are putting it in for you guys. Avengers coming out, movie review. We've got this whole draft podcast coming out. I want to thank you guys on that side of the table coming
Sean
in.
and I
doing,
from 7 p.m. till 2:30 a.m. doing NFL draft.
I'm hyped. Thank you guys
I hope
for
someone's still listening at this point.
Yeah, same here.
I'm kind of sad if no one's listening.
For doing the live stream, coming in here, filling in for Mark, coming in here, doing the draft podcast. Let us know what you think about what's your best, what's your worst pick of the first round is. Let us know down below in the comment section. Thank you guys for listening. A little housekeeping here at the end. Patreon.com/MostValuable Podcast. That's how you come and support us. You can get your MVP t-shirts down below in the store link in the description. You can check out mostvaluablepodcast.com for everything MVP each and every day. Last but not least, go on to Apple Podcasts and iTunes. Give the Onside Kick a 5-star rating. Thank you for watching on YouTube. Thank you guys for listening on podcast services around the world. And as always, have a good day, everybody.